Hello and welcome to my channel. I'm very excited about today's video. Today is the beginning of the presentation of the third eye, or the third eye chakra. This is the only chakra that is I'm basically going to do it in two videos. Today's video, which is mainly medical science, medical terminology. And then the next part, we're going to switch over to the spiritual aspect. I felt that this was the best way to present the third eye because it's just such an important aspect of us human beings that we are never taught about properly, and even in med school we sort of just browsed quickly and we said that we really don't know what it does, and we kind of left it at that, unless of course it was affected by some kind of tumor, cancer or disease. That was the only time we looked at it. And yes, there is a medical term for the third eye. And the medical term for it is depending on how you pronounce it, the pineal or the pineal gland. I, going through med school in the Middle East, would pronounce it as the pineal gland. That is what we talk about, or that is what we reference when we talk about your third eye and opening your third eye. The reason I decided to go with the science and medical aspect first before diving into the spiritual realm is because there's this big kerfuffle, and there has been this big kerfuffle about the pineal gland being calcified mainly due to the fluoride. And this eventually leads to a whole bunch of conspiracy theories about fluoride in your toothpaste, fluoride in your water, and then it's being put there on purpose. I can't talk to any of that. All I can talk about is what I learned, present you scientific evidence, as well as what I am going through and how I ended up sort of rejuvenating or unblocking my own third eye. Now, before I go into anything, I would like to tell you that my third eye was active in me from a very, very young age. I would be able to sense the energies, especially the energy of people around me that meant me harm. The best example that I can give to that, and it's just me, it's my own example, there's no science here, is that I was frequently in the presence of a pedophile growing up. And I never liked that man, and I could never really explain why. I didn't fear him, but I felt repulsed by him. And it was simply the energy that was emitted by him. One more thing that I'd like to tell you. This video is going to be long, so get ready. Maybe you want to grab some tea or coffee or watch it over a couple of days. But I wanted to talk to you quickly about my Patreon. I will be linking my Patreon, and I realized that my channel was very young with only a few hundred subscribers. But where's the rule that says that I can't? I'm going to link my Patreon below. I have paused the billing cycle for October. I am planning, hopefully, to launch my Patreon in November. Your kind support would be appreciated, considering that you would have the whole month of October for free. Surprisingly enough, I have a lovely, lovely human being in my Patreon who found me and who subscribed, and we're having a grand old time in there. But yes, I will link it. There is absolutely no pressure. Should you wish to support me, please feel free to join. Or you could just basically, take a look around it. I have some unlocked posts in my Patreon. Now, I did have to take some notes for today's presentation, so you might see my gaze go up and down, but I do wander around with my gaze anyway. So without further delay, let's get into the third eye chakra. What is the pineal gland and where is it located? The pineal gland is exactly what it says. It's an endocrine gland. The basic thing that it is concerned with is the regulation of your sleep and wake cycle, which is known in the human species as the circadian rhythm. How's your sleep going? You sleeping good, or are you a person like me who needs help and assistance to sleep? And I have to admit that since I've balanced all my chakras and I fine-tuned them here and there, I've gotten off everything. I now sleep normally. I recall my dreams. I'm having a great time with sleep. So the other medical term, if you really wanna, get complex, of the pineal gland is the epiphysis cerebri. That's sort of the anatomical word, and you can look all this stuff up. It is located in the posterior aspect of your cranial fossa. The shape of it is cone, I guess, or pine shaped. The pineal gland is an unpaired gland. Majority of our organs and our glands are paired. The thyroid is paired, your adrenals are paired. Even your brain has a right hemisphere and a left hemisphere. But the pineal gland is actually not paired. It's just a cone-shaped thing that sits in the posterior fossa. The weight of it is about 0.1 grams in an adult. And it does aid in the production of cerebrospinal fluid, which is the CSF. That's the short term or abbreviation for the cerebrospinal fluid. And it also aids in its production, and it's bathed in it. Cerebrospinal fluid is the fluid that's all around your brain, and it also goes down and circulates around your spinal cord. On a cellular level, you will see that it contains structures that are known as, the layman term, or the easy way to pronounce it, is brain sand. These structures, or the brain sand that are located within, they are the ones that are prone to calcification. And when you take an X-ray and you see a visibly calcified pineal gland, that is essentially what you are looking at. Those brain sand structures that are within it that do get calcified. The chemical analysis of the calcification of these structures will reveal the following. They will reveal calcium phosphate. They will also reveal magnesium phosphate, as well as calcium carbonate and ammonium phosphate in their composition. Please do take the time to check the description. If you are if you're into medical literature, if you're into research, if you understand medical lingo, there is going to be quite the in-depth studies that talk about all of this and so much more linked in the description. So please take the time to click there. With regards to the development, it begins to develop in intrauterine life at about week 7. And then the mature gland continues to develop after that, up to the first decade of life. It increases in its size from birth to about 2 years, and then from 2 years of age till about the age of 20, it actually stabilizes with regards to its size. In fact, after that, it might even show some decline. Studies do show that the more harsh the environment, especially with regards to temperature, cold. The more cold the environment that the people or humans reside in, the larger the pineal gland is in its size. So as a general rule, you can say that the gland increases in size as you go from south to north, or from basically the equator headed towards the poles. With regards to the function, going into a little bit more detail, it does help in the modulation of the sleep-wake cycle or the circadian rhythm of humans by the production of 5-methoxyindole, which helps with the regulation and the production of melatonin. Melatonin is important, and it is produced, or the production of melatonin increases when humans are exposed to darkness, and it decreases when we are exposed to light. Which is why it's kind of important. People who work shifts really suffer a lot of stress. Not just physical stress, but mental, emotional, all kinds of stress, and they might even age because they've reversed their circadian rhythm, and it doesn't work because they're not producing what needs to be produced, and they might end up on medications to help them sleep. So you kind of throw your body off completely. So the increase in production during darkness and the decrease in production during exposure to light mainly happens by the exposure to the receptors in your eyes known as the rods and cones. They are basically in your retina. So that, I wanted to get that out of the way. Now I'm going to touch on gently calcification, though I will talk about calcification further down the road. Calcification of the pineal gland is extremely common. In fact, it's what we do. It's how humans are. It's so common that in med school, I remember that we would use it. Like the white spots, that would be used as a landmark or a reference. And the calcification, based on the research studies, a lot of them you're going to find linked, seems to be correlated directly with age. The human gland has been recognized for over 2,000 years, believe it or not. Now, between 325 and 280 BC, there was the father of anatomy. His name, I apologize if I'm butchering this name, Herophilus, described it as the valve of animal memory. And then between 1596 and 1650, the French philosopher René, again, I'm not sure about the pronunciation, Descartes, who was a mathematician, a scientist, as well as a philosopher. He regarded it as the principal seat of the soul. He also said that the pineal gland is the place in which all thoughts are formed. Please do, again, check the description for all of this, like literature and stuff. Only in 1958 was an actual biological function, which is the secretion of melatonin, uncovered. Medical and scientific research has shown that the pineal gland releases DMT or NN, DMT, dimethyltryptamine, which is a very, very potent psychedelic. With regards to the calcification or the calcification process of the pineal gland, there is definitely a link between the pineal gland calcification and neurodegenerative disorders. An example, a very, very prominent example, you can watch Joe Biden. Sorry, no politics. An example of a neurodegenerative disease is Alzheimer's dementia. Interestingly enough, I'd like to throw this at you. Melatonin has antioxidant, neuroprotective, as well as anti-inflammatory properties. Melatonin also directly inhibits the secretion as well as the deposition of beta amyloid protein, which is a hallmark of Alzheimer's dementia. The calcification is a very, very widespread, sort of accepted phenomena in vertebrates that has gained very little interest in the scientific and medical world. I'm not going to sit here and throw conspiracy theories as to why. It just has never really gained that. There are some studies out there, and you'll find a few of them linked. And when you do check the description and go through the studies, go through the references in those studies as well. To date, like I said, very little is known about the process as well as the actual mechanism that are involved. But we did say that it seems to be related to aging. There's a direct correlation with increasing age and the calcification of the pineal gland. Having said that, there is another way that calcification seems to occur, and that involves the actual connective tissue that gets calcified. And this is initiated by tryptase-containing mast cells. This is an actual pathological process that is not linked to aging. The association or the link between the pineal gland calcification and aging has been shown via the presence of things like chronic vascular inflammation, as well as brain tissue hypoxia, resulting from things like hypertension, stroke, even sleep apnea. Those are not things that you tend to find in young children. These are things that happen to us as we age, especially stroke and Alzheimer's. Also changes in intracranial pressure, which is again caused by things like stroke, any kind of head trauma, and Alzheimer's dementia. So now that I've bored the crap out of you with all this medical stuff, medical lingo, I'm going to finish off a big thing in the spiritual community. The next video is going to be about the third eye, more spiritual stuff, less medicine. But the spiritual community is always going on and on and on about how to unblock it, how to cleanse it, how to decalcify it, and what you can do. In medical literature, there is such a thing as pineal gland rejuvenation. It's not just the spiritual community. It's not woo-woo. Yes, there is such a thing as transplants. The articles that I have read suggest that they have occurred in animals. I don't know yet. I haven't gone in depth to see if humans have attempted this, considering it's such a neglected part of the body that no one really cares about. Although the field of neuroscience is quite amazing with regards to treatment of Alzheimer's, dementia, and Parkinson's. So it might be worth tapping into or looking into. A better way than going ahead with a transplant. Now, mind you, a transplanted organ or gland will never function as good as your original one. And then you have the complications of surgery, the complications of anesthesia. Is it worth it? One has to wonder, balancing the scales. So a better way is to actually stop or retard its calcification and try to recover the function of the calcified gland, which is not impossible. Not impossible. A lot of people in the spiritual community are very capable, and they've recovered full function of their third eye. The big one, here we go. You ready for this? The big one is to avoid environmental hazards in general. But the big one tends to be fluoride, which is found, you can find it in water, was found in water, as well as toothpaste. So I live in North America, In North America, children, like if you go in the toothpaste aisle for kids, it's all fluoride free. And doctors will tell you, as soon as the baby starts to teeth, fluoride free toothpaste. So there is a consciousness arising with regards to all of this. So avoid fluoride. However way you choose, avoid it. The other thing is decalcification of your pineal gland through microdialysis. And again, I'm not going to sit here and talk to you about microdialysis of the cerebrospinal fluid because that's just beyond the scope of this video. The video is definitely about to finish. I hope you enjoyed it. I really, really enjoyed putting my notes together, and I was really excited all day long to come here and present this topic to you. Please feel free to do your own research. Please click on the links and let me know your thoughts in the comments. Send me an email. I'd love to hear from you. The next, the second half of Third Eye is going to be all spiritual, and I will definitely talk to you then.